Good afternoon, everyone. I see you're here to play some GZDoom, specifically with multiplayer. If that's what you're here for, alright, let's do this. So, to begin, I'm going to assume that you don't even have GZDoom yet, so we're going to get it. And this is an important one, because of the way the way actual Doom in general does multiplayer. You need just be sure you're running the same version. I'm assuming running different versions could cause problems, so let's just avoid that. Make sure you're running the same version. As of recording this, the most recent version is 4.5, which is the version I'm running. And so if you're running an older version and you don't want to update, just send your friends the old versions. You can go into the archive here, and you can find it. I'm not going to look for it because we're using 4.5, but if you want to hunt down an older version, go ahead. So I'm actually going to install it, unlike some tutorials you will see. I'm going to install this. So, we got it here. We're going to open it up. It's on my other monitor. Here you go. So we can get rid of that. So now we have all of this stuff. So we're going to want to create a folder for it. So let me just minimize that. And I'm going to make a new folder. Oops, hold on, I have my desktop hidden. Because these are some other... I wanted to make it look clean in the intro. Here's some files we're going to need. We'll get to that, though, so just let those sit there. Just ignore them for now. So we're going to make a new folder, and we're just going to call it GZDoom. There you go. You probably want to put it somewhere better than your desktop, but for tutorial purposes, I'm just going to leave it right here. Makes no difference. So we're going to come back in here, and you're just going to give it a little drag and drop right into there. Alright, so now we don't need that anymore. So here's your GZDoom. Alright, excuse me for that jump cut. Alright, I had some of the wrong files for some reason. I guess I copied the wrong ones. But here you go. This is kind of all the stuff you'll need, except for this one. This one is kind of something else, so we'll just set that one off to the side here. But this is Doom 1 and Doom 2. I'm not going to... Plutonia and TNT kind of all follow the same thing. But for now, we're just going to do Doom 1 and Doom 2. So you're going to want to copy these in here. How you obtain these, you can get these from if you buy... I mean, if you owned the game back in the 90s, you should have these. If you bought it on Steam, you can find these. Even in Doom Eternal, there's a version of these. It's the Unity port, but you don't want that version. So just buy them. If you want to be official, you can buy them on Steam. There are unofficial ways to obtain it. I won't be showing you that, though. But if you do own it on Steam, you can obtain these WADs. Just look in the save directory. So we're going to take them, and we're going to put them in here. And now here's this Roland SC55. This is a sound font, and this is what makes the MIDIs sound the way they're supposed to. The default sound font does not sound very good. So you're going to want to obtain this. There are a few ways. You can go on the internet and you can find it, but it's just the Roland SC55 sound font. So we're going to put that into sound fonts. Okay, good. Alright, so now that you've done that, we're going to launch the EXE. And for some reason, this thing is finding other WADs that I have, even though it shouldn't even be able to find them. It's weird, but you'll only have, because we only put Doom 1 and 2 in there, you should only have these two. I do own the Steam versions of all the games, so it's possible it's pulling them from there. I don't know why, but whatever. So it's no big deal. Anyway, so we're just gonna use Ultimate Doom for now, which is Doom 1, the full release with all 4 episodes. And I'm just gonna do it in not full screen for now, just to make it easier. Alright, so I launched the game, but it was really loud, so I turned the sound down, and now I'm gonna relaunch it just does not break your ears. Alright, so there we go. So hopefully that's not too loud for you now. Alright, so now that we're in the game, we're going to do some settings first. So we're going to... Because you want to, of course, make sure that you guys are all your friends. Again, this is assuming you're doing multiplayer. You're going to make sure all your friends are on the same settings. So we're going to go into options first, and then we're going to go to... First of all, you're going to have to do full options menu. There you go. So now you're going to go to compatibility options, and you're going to change compatibility mode from default to Doom Strict. Now this will change stuff that, like, it'll make sure that the monsters have infinite height and other things like that, and lost soul limit, because by default GZDoom has some very non-vanilla settings. So you're going to want Doom Strict to make sure everything acts as vanilla as possible in GZDoom. GZDoom is still not the most vanilla option out there, but it is still pretty good, and it's good for casuals, if that makes sense. So if you're like a pro, there are other source ports that are a lot more akin to being super faithful, but this one is still pretty good in my opinion. So now you got your compatibility. We're going to go to mouse options, and always free look, or always mouse look, turn that off, because mouse look is what allows you to look up and down, which is not something you're supposed to be able to do. So we're going to turn that off. And also for the cursor, I'm going to turn it to this simple arrow, because I don't really like the daisy head. So now that you got that, we're going to go to gameplay options, and there's another one in here with free look. Allow free look, turn that off. And there we go. All right, so I forgot something, and it's the reason I forgot is it's kind of annoying, and but it is a one-time fix. Is that GZDoom has some settings where I turned off the free look in the gameplay options. Those settings actually don't save, which is really annoying. So what you have to do is create what is this, an autoexec.cfg. It's just a text file, and you change the end, and this is what it has to say. Set DMF flags to 557056. And these flags are really weird and annoying, but basically when you have a bunch of settings in that gameplay options, there'll be two numbers at the top of the screen, and you might have seen them, one that said DMF flags and one that said DMF flags 2. Now when you have all of the settings you've picked for all those options, it'll have those two numbers will be whatever they happen to be. And in this case, what you want is them to be this, because this turns off free look, jumping, crouching. That's what this first one does, and this one turns off BFG aiming, which is a kind of a cheat, so you want that off too. So with these settings, you will be able to have the correct gameplay option. So that's all you have to do is autoexec.cfg in the root, and have this is what it has to say. All right, back to the tutorial. So now we should have the most vanilla options possible. To make sure, we're gonna start a new game real quick. And then I can't look up and down. I'm trying to, but I can't. So we're pretty good. And as you can see, the music sounds pretty off, doesn't it? So we're gonna want to fix that, right? So we're gonna go into options, and we're gonna go to sound options. And then MIDI device fluid synth, it should be on that by default, but it is, so. You can hear some other ones. They're not very good. So fluid synth is good. But then I'm gonna need a full options again. It seems to like to turn that on a lot. So we're gonna turn simple options menu off. So now it should come back to this at default. If you don't need the full options, then you can leave that off. But we're gonna go to sound options, advanced options, MIDI player options, and fluid synth. This is the one we're using. So now this is the default GZDoom sound font that it's using right now. We don't want that. And then now, since we put that Roland in there, in that sound font folder, here it is. And then you can see the music will reset. Or I believe it did. Yeah, and if it doesn't, you can go into sound, and there should be a reset in here somewhere. Okay, whatever. It did reset. Whatever. I saw the reset earlier. Anyway, excuse me if I'm not doing this super professionally. I didn't, like, rehearse this or anything. But as you can see, the music sounds correct now. But I don't know if you can notice, but everything's kind of blurry, right? See how blurry that shotgunner looks? It's kind of disgusting, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go into options. And there's a beautiful options search, so you don't have to find stuff. So I'm going to do that, because I actually don't exactly remember where it is. But there's filtering. Here, texture filter mode. Here it is. And you can see it'll show you where it was. So display options, texture options. Excuse me if you can hear a hose or drain sound. That's something in my house that I can't help but have. So here's texture filter mode. Is a trilinear. That's fucking horrible. We're gonna turn it off, and you can see stuff's gonna be a lot sharper, but yet more pixely. This is what you want. Normal. Otherwise, it looks really bad. Texture filtering is disgusting. Turn it off. See how better that looks? Much better, right? Beautiful. Alright. So now we're done with the game. The rest of the stuff you can tune to your liking, but as long as the gameplay related features are the same between players, should have no problems. Okay. Alright. I'm going to assume you want to do multiplayer, right? So let's get started with that, shall we? You're going to want to open up your browser again. And this is going to assume that you are capable of port forwarding. And every router should have this, but if you're like a younger kid and your parents don't give you permission, there are options like LogMe and Hamachi to get around this, but I'm going to assume that you have the ability to port forward. Alright, I'm going to pull up my router configurator. Alright, so here is my router configurator. I'm going to be blurring a lot of stuff here because this isn't stuff you're supposed to see. So, only things you need to know will be visible here. So don't worry about it too much. Alright, so you're going to want to find in here wherever port forwarding is. Every single menu is going to be different. It all depends on your router and such. So wherever your port forwarding is, that's where you're going to want to go. Alright, so here's my port forwarding. And as you can see, I do already have some port forwards done. I'm going to turn this one off. I don't need that one active at the moment. But here's the GZDoom one that I made. And you're going to want pretty much the same settings. Again, yours will be a little different in menus, but for the most part, everything here should be the same. Or everything will be here, maybe in a different spot. So you're going to name it whatever. Probably you want to name it GZDoom for convenience sake. The service type is a UDP. Your IP should be, your IPv4 should be your own IPv4. This should already be set correctly though. Starting port should be 5029 and 5029 because that is the default port. Alright, so once you have that set, you can hit save. And as you can see in my case, it is turned on. So, we're good. So now, to start up your game, what you're going to want to do, and this is going to assume that you're the host in this case. I will show you what it's like for your other friends as well. So, you're going to want to do a new shortcut, but you're going to want to create a shortcut geez, come on, Windows. You're going to want to create a shortcut to the GZDoom exe. Even just leave it right here. I mean, you can move it, but just leave it right here. We're just going to call this one DM for deathmatch. So now you're going to go into properties of this, and in the target is where we're going to set some parameters. And this is where you're going to set all of your stuff for what makes the game work. So for now, we're going to do -host. That makes you the host of a multiplayer session, and then the number of players that includes yourself. So it would normally, so let's say it's a 1v1, you're going to do 2. But in this case, I'm going to do 1 because then I can start a multiplayer game by myself without having to have another. I will show you what it's like to connect to somebody because you can actually run two instances of GZDoom at once. So I'll do that later, but for now, we're going to do host-1. And this is useful for testing purposes of on your own. And you can go onto the GZDoom wiki to find a full list of available parameters, but I'm going to show you the ones that I use. And next you're going to want to set deathmatch, and this sets the game to do anything that involves deathmatch, like the respawning weapons and just the game mode, and it's just that makes everything work deathmatch. There is another parameter for co-op if that's what you were doing, but that's not what we're doing here. We're doing deathmatch. So there's another setting you're going to want to do here. This is a really important one, is port. And port is your IPv4 address. Okay, so how to find your port, alright? So, to find your port, there's a couple different options you can do, but you can just do IP, or not that, IP chicken. You might have heard of this before, but IP chicken, and you're going to go here, and this will tell you your IP address. It'll be, I have it blurred, but that's the IP you're going to need, because that's how people connect to you, is this IP that's shown here. So you're going to want to copy that. Alright, so once you have your IP, you're going to do -use IP and your IP that you found. And again, I'm keeping this blurred because you don't need to know it. But there you go. And then -port we're going to do. Excuse me, port 5029, which is the default one. Which actually, if you don't specify the port, it'll default to 5029. But I like to just have like a blanket of security, and I like to specify it anyway. If you're having issues, you can always change your port. You could choose a different port And when you port forward, you have to change the port as well, because you port forwarded to 5029, assuming you did the default, so that's what is being used. If you change the port here, you have to change the port in your port forwarding settings as well. But I'm going to put, again, 5029 in there for blanket of security. Not necessary, because it will default to that. And then, oops, excuse me. And then there's -net mode. This is something that is also default specified, but there's two modes, 0 and 1. I'm going to use 0. 0 is a peer-to-peer connection, I believe. And you can look on the wiki to specify it. I'm sorry if I'm getting it wrong, but 0 is peer-to-peer. And 0 is pretty good if there's only 2 people, so it's 1v1. But if you're having 3 or more, you might want to set 1, which actually, again, if I remember correctly, everybody polls the host, and the host sends information back instead of everybody trying to communicate between each other. So generally speaking, if you're having 3 or more, set this to 1. If not, set it to 0 or don't set it at all, because default is 0. And then there's some gameplay options here. You're gonna want Alt-Death is another one, and I believe that makes items respawn or it makes players respawn. But either way, that's a deathmatch setting you're gonna want. Again, I will put in the description anything that I was not certain about, because again, I didn't rehearse this. I'm kind of doing this on the fly, if you don't mind. But Alt-Death is necessary for deathmatch. So we're also going to set a frag limit with plus frag limit. And I'm going to set that to 5. And if you don't know what frags are, they're kills. So 5 kills is the end of the game, is what this is set to. And you can go on, again, I'll link the GZDoom wiki in the description to where you can have all these different parameters that you can set. So you can have time limits, frag limits, all kinds of different stuff. Now this is a really good one, no monsters. -no monsters. And this makes it so obviously the monsters don't spawn when you play a map, because it'd be kind of sucky to play a deathmatch map and have a bunch of imps roaming around, you know? So you're probably going to want that one off. And then plus map. And this is where you can load the map at the start of the game without, like, basically as soon as you launch it, it'll load into the map. If you're playing Doom 2, it's map and then a 2-digit number. So map 1, 3, 23, whatever. But if you're playing Doom 1, it's E number, M number. All right, so we're gonna do map. I'll do Doom 1 and Doom 2. So this is set for Doom 1 right here. So we have a 5 kills, no monsters, alt-death, deathmatch. I hit OK. There you go. So now this will launch GZDoom in the multiplayer state. You do have to select your WAD. You can specify it to select the WAD in the parameters. There is a parameter for that as well. But in this case, we're not going to do that. So we're just going to launch Ultimate Doom. And it'll be just fine. And as you can see, we are now in multiplayer. Because it's showing frags. We spawned up here. And you can hit up, not that, but whatever I set. I can't remember what I set my... There's a... Actually, what is the, There's an op one. That's a good thing. What is... Scoreboard? Scoreboard is \. There you go. There you go. See? So, that actually reminds me of another thing. Excuse me again if I'm doing this. Oh, by the way this. Oh, by the way that. This wasn't, like, scripted out or anything. So I'm not the most professional tutorial maker, if you haven't noticed. But you can go to Options, Player Setup. And this isn't necessary to set if you never play multiplayer. But if you do play multiplayer, this is quite important, actually. So player is your name. So we're going to call this tutorial. And then you can actually change this in game. As you can see up there, it just said I changed my name. Team does not matter unless you're playing Team Deathmatch. Color, here you can set your Marine's color. This default is green. I'd recommend being anything but green, since green is the default. You can pick between gray, brown, red, light gray, light brown, light red, light blue, and custom RGB sliders. So you can have any color you want. We can be this muddled brown, or we can be this really deep purple here. Let's do this deep purple, huh? Looks nice. Class is Marine, skin, base, gender, male. This, I don't believe, does really anything. And Here's one setting you might... This is a gameplay setting. You can actually use in single player as well, but switch on pickup means whether or not, like, if you pick up a shotgun for the first time, if you're going to switch to it or not. I actually recommend having that off. It's just for me, if you can do whatever you want. I do switch on pickup as off. And always run is whether or not you're... always run makes it so that pressing the run button will actually stop you from running, and letting it go will have you run. But as you can see now, when we show up the scoreboard, there's tutorial, there's our color, and yeah, we're playing deathmatch now. Pretty cool, huh? So obviously, if I had a friend going, this would be a lot more interesting, wouldn't it? So let's show you how to do that, huh? Alright, so now if you're going to be the one joining, it's even easier for you because you don't have to specify anything. The only thing you have to specify is the IP of your host. So I'm going to make another shortcut, and I'm going to call this one join. So it's super simple. So you're going to go into the properties. Again, it's basically the same thing, but instead you're going to do the join parameter, dash join, and their IP. And that's it. That's all you have to do. So I'm going to now modify this to be instead of hosting one player, I'm going to host two. And I'm going to hit apply. There we go. So now I'm going to launch up multiplayer from my other game, my default installation. And I'm going to join. I'm going to join myself, which is hilarious that you can even do it. Alright, so now we can join. So I'm just going to start up a deathmatch game with my other account here. Or account, I should say, my other installation. So I'm going to turn off full screen. So, there we go. And this is what the host will see, waiting for players. One is you, and the rest of them are your friends. So I'm going to drag this over here. I'm going to have two windows on top. I'm going to have to move one of the windows over. Alright, and then we're just going to launch join. This is what your friend will do. Play game. Boom. There you go. See, it's a bit cluttered, but I'm gonna move my. This is my own installation. I'm gonna move that over, and this is the one that we did. All right, so here we go. Look at that. Interesting place to spawn. Well, let's go find wherever I am. Or my other account should be over here. And there they are. We're playing multiplayer now. Alright. Hope you guys and your friends have a ton of fun. Okay, so you're probably wondering, what if I want to play a mod with my friends? Well, that's where you're going to need this. And this being whatever the mod happens to be. In this case, it's kprison36. This is a prison map for Doom 2, I found. And let's say you want to play something like this or any other mod at all. It's pretty much all works the exact same. You can leave your mod in this directory, and it might make it easier, but I think it gets cluttered when you have too many, so what I recommend is make a new folder for your mods. So we're going to make a mods folder, and we're going to take kprison, and we're going to put it in there. So now, and this is again going to be on the joining side of things, what you're going to do is do dash file, and then that mod's location. So we're going to come up here, and we're going to go up to your top here, kprison, there it is, and then just copy that. Alright? And then just put that in there. If it was in the directory, you could just put kprison.wad and it would find it. But I think this works better. So we're going to hit apply, and there we go. And that was a mod for Doom 2, so make sure you launch Doom 2, of course, in this case. If it's a mod for Doom 1, launch Doom 1. And I'm just going to make sure that that mod is installed on my other end, and I'm going to show you it works. Alright, so here it is ready to load on my host end. So now we're just going to do the join on this end. And make sure it's Doom 2, because that's what the mod's for. This is a Doom 2 mod. And there we go. You can see we're playing a modded map. Nothing about this is vanilla. Well, just the map. But then you can see there's my opponent up there. And you can see there on the bottom, my other health bar is getting hit. Now, I don't know this map very well, because I haven't really played it. But, you can see. A lot of cool stuff. You might be hearing the audios twice, probably because my opponent end is hearing it as well. There I am. Yeah? Pretty cool, huh? Alright. Hope you guys and your friends have a ton of fun playing some GZDoom multiplayer.